Yes, it does.
Welcome to Recovering Addict. I'm LT and I'm an alcoholic addict.
I'm Felice. I'm married to an alcoholic addict.
Yeah, that's me.
Whom I love.
Yeah, 2 times in my life I wrecked it. Early 2000s with meth, later in my 30s with alcohol. And then I went to an IOP. I had to go to detox for alcohol, went to jail for meth. And so that's what this channel's about. Every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you can catch us live where we talk about recovery. We go through educational books. We bring people on the show to talk about it and all that kind of good stuff. And we have a community that lifts up this channel and holds us up. And they are the real, that's where the rubber meets the road. If you're struggling, we have a support for you 24 hours a day. There's a Zoom 6 days a week. And even if you just need instant support, we have a Discord. You can jump in there. We'll FaceTime with you. Just reach out. It's 24/7. It's around the world. So no matter what time of night, anywhere you're at in the world, if you are struggling, just say, go to the Discord, go into the support room and say, I need support. And we will jump in there. Somebody will jump in there from around the world. Tonight, we have a special guest, Amber from Put the Shovel Down. I thought we'd continue our rehash with all the people that we've collaborated with over the last 6-7 months. And Amber's going to join us tonight. We're going to talk about IOPs and the necessity and, you know, all the stuff that goes with addiction and where we should go to get help. So without further ado, I'm just going to bring her on and jump into it. What's up, Amber?
Good to see you. What's up? Good to see you, LT.
You too.
Hi, best friend.
Hey, Felice.
That's what I tell everybody. I'm like, Amber is my best friend.
That's right. I saw y'all's new little YouTube thing that bumps in your intro. It was so cute. That's new. I was like, oh, look at that. So cute. I like that.
I love cute little tiny things.
Look at Felice's hands. She's trying to get everybody to focus on Felice's hands.
Oh, the tiny hands.
She got some weird stuff on them today and they shrunk. So what have you been up to? I noticed you're up to 15,000 subscribers.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
I was stalking your channel today. I was like, oh, I better set it up. I was like, whoa, 15. When did that happen? That just like over the last couple months, huh?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Slow going at first, but it definitely builds momentum.
That's awesome. You're consistent. You got awesome content. So if you're new here and you haven't met Amber, check her channel out. Maybe in a nutshell or as long as you want to take, I don't really care. Tell us about yourself, your background, your history, your what you do in recovery, and why your channel is so successful in this niche.
All right. So I'm Amber Hollingsworth. I am a master addiction counselor, and my YouTube channel called Put the Shovel Down is all about helping you understand the science and psychology of addiction so that you can stay 5 steps ahead of it and get back to living the life that you want to live. Now, prior to starting a YouTube channel, I have been in the treatment world for more than 15 years now. And I've worked in inpatient centers, worked in detox and psychiatric stuff, ran IOPs for a hospital, but I also have my own private practice where I run an outpatient practice. Basically, some other counselors, we all work together and run an outpatient practice. And we have an IOP in our building as well. So I've run all kinds of IOPs, very familiar.
Well, that's awesome. And so did you grow up with parents that were addicted or anything like that?
I did. I grew up in a completely addicted family. Parents, grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, you name it. The only ones in my family that aren't addicted are myself and my sister and then my brother. I think we grew up in it so much. We saw so much of it. We're like, no, thanks.
Yeah.
We just opt out. Like, that's how much of it we saw.
Wow.
We're not that lifestyle.
So you probably heard of this book then, huh? It'll Never Happen to Me, Claudia.
Right.
Yeah, we're going through this back right now on our channel. We're a little over halfway through. So you're probably very familiar with that experientially, huh?
Sure, absolutely.
That's awesome. So I wanted to talk about IOPs and programs, and we do a little segment on this channel called Questions from the Discord. And somebody asked, and we'll get into that question, but if a lot of times I see a lot of people just lose hope. Like the only thing they can think of is getting into an IOP program to get sober. Is there more to life or more to recovery than an IOP or inpatient or outpatient? Or like, give us your whole experience. We got to drag this out for 45 minutes. So.
All right. You don't have to have treatment of any sort to get sober, right? So most people, in fact, get sober without ever having to go to treatment. It's only the minority of treatment in order to get sober. There are some situations, I think, where going to treatment is more necessary, but it's never completely necessary. And if you can't access like clinical kinds of treatment, what we can do maybe, LT, is talk about what it is that treatment brings and gives you access to, and maybe some other ways you can bring that into your life if you cannot access. Maybe you don't have insurance, or there's financial barriers, or you live somewhere where they don't have those kind of programs. If there's some barriers, there are other ways to get that.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about all that stuff. We got some people here I want to say hi to really quick. Marilyn, she loves you. She says Amber is amazing. Where does that comment go? There she is. I just love Amber. She's amazing. So Marilyn's one who watches us regularly. She's
all right, Marilyn. Yeah.
We got Teeter hanging out. We got Dez, who's in Australia. Today he hit 17 years of sobriety. Wow. It's actually tomorrow for him because he's in Australia, but today is the day in America. Sobriety day. And we got Sam hanging out with us. What's up, Sam? We got Sean, just on a Zoom meeting with him, and then Jeanette. How you doing? Sky Love, how you doing? And then Merk, he's the one that asked the question in the Discord. We'll get to. Marilyn again. Epi, that's Felice's cousin.
My brother.
Vice
That's
versa
brother.
on Periscope. Good to see you. Glad you're here. He says hi, Amber. He or she. And then my mama.
Vice versa.
What's up, Todd? Good to see you. Hi, Mom. That's actually my mother. And then Kimmy, she came on a while ago and gave us her story. And wow, it was an amazing story. She lives out there in the east near you. Josh Beam, welcome to the show. We're talking about inpatient or outpatient programs, the necessity of them, and how to recover basically if you don't have that option. So let me look up that Discord. You can go ahead and talk for a sec while I pull this up, but go ahead.
Those tiny hands were cutting off my finger circulation. They're fun though. Another thing I was gonna, maybe we could talk about is your thoughts on detox centers. Like, how important is detox as opposed to was it inpatient?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, IOP. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. I think that's the acronym.
Well, IOP is actually an outpatient program. It's complicated. All the letters, it's just complicated. We can talk about all of it.
Yeah, maybe just break down what it is, and then we'll what one versus the other is, and then we got 2 questions in here from people, and then we'll see if you want to address those.
Yeah, because it seems like when we talk to people, the biggest hurdle is like, do we go into a center and how to detox? Like, most of them, their biggest hurdle is detox. Like, they're too scared because of withdrawals and things like that.
I'm actually super glad you guys are talking about this. I actually don't get a lot of questions about treatment. And when I talk about treatment, I think it's one of the more like boring subjects I talk about, so people don't pay as much attention to it. But man, if you could really understand the systems, you could save yourself a lot of time and money and energy, because so many people don't understand the systems and they waste a lot of time, money, and energy. And it's just, you just get caught in the revolving door, or you just, you need something and you just go to the first thing either someone tells you, or you just Googled it up and the first thing that came up. And that's a bad plan. It's kind of like throwing darts and just seeing where you land.
Merck says, what determines whether a person needs inpatient over outpatient? And so you said it becomes a revolving door. I kind of want to touch on that too. Like, what do you mean by revolving door?
When I worked in like a private like psychiatric hospital for more than 10 years. And so it's an acute care facility where people would go for detox, or people would go for like acute treatment for depression, if they were suicidal. When things were serious, that's where you would go, and you'd stay there like short term. Well, the problem is people do things like they show up for treatment like that, like for detox or something, and then they think, okay, I went to treatment, and then I'm out. And I don't even know that I would call that treatment. Detox is literally just getting you well enough to begin the journey of recovery. And so people come out of that and they don't follow up, or they don't do the next thing that they need to do, and that's when it becomes a revolving door, in and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah, it seems like there's a stigma, at least from what I've learned over the last year, that you have to, like, if you're coming off drugs and alcohol or whatever it is, you got to get into an inpatient program, or at least an outpatient, an intense outpatient. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
I think in some situations it's true, and I can, it's hard to give black and white answers to complicated questions. I do the best that I can.
Yeah.
When I see young people really struggle with addiction, teenagers and like young 20-something-year-olds, they pretty regularly do need that level of treatment, just because there's so many more complications. They're just young, they haven't learned how to be adults or function. They're usually living at home, and being at home with your family or your parents can just bring a level of problems that makes it nearly impossible. So a lot of young people do. We find in our office that a lot of adults are able to get sober and stay sober without having to go to inpatient. I think the way you would need inpatient is if the environment that you live in just will not support recovery. And that could mean there's a lot of drug and alcohol use around you. It could mean your family's crazy and they're going to drive you crazy, and that's just not conducive for sobriety. So that's one of the reasons. Or if you just know that you cannot stop for whatever reason, like, there's the I can't stop, I want to, but I can't, and there's the I just don't want to. If you know that you just cannot stop and you need to be put somewhere where you absolutely cannot use for a little while to get your feet under you, that's when you need some form of inpatient treatment.
So like what do they call them? A high relapse. Somebody that relapses all the time would probably benefit the best for inpatient. Basically locking yourself away from the drug long enough to get it time to come out of your system, get recovery in your head, like you said, get your feet under the ground. So those types of people. And then you said, from your experience, like mostly the younger crowd would benefit better from a program than the older crowd, kind of?
I don't know if I would say they benefit better from a program, but I would say they need it. Like like they can't do it without it often.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I can see that. It seems like, the demographic of this type of, just to hear on YouTube and Facebook is the ones that are really involved are, 30 to 50-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of just been through life. They're in the middle of their life and realize that things have got to change. When you're young, you still see the world, 80 years still seems like forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then to plant those seeds. So do you have a lot of young people in your programs that or your practice that you do?
We do, and we probably have about half and half in our practice, but historically throughout my career, I've seen a lot of young people. One of the first things I did was run an IOP for teenagers. Man, that was the hardest thing ever. That was tough.
What made that so hard?
Dealing with drug addict teenagers. Just dealing with regular teenagers is hard enough.
That's
true. Put a
true.
whole bunch of them in the room together. Oh man.
It's nothing but attitude, I'm sure.
It felt like I was like stuck on some kind of MTV radio or something.
That's funny.
Oh, that's funny. So Kimmy asks in the Discord, she said, someone said to me, without NA or AA or a treatment, my recovery will never last. Is that true? And then she goes on to say, can someone recover and stay sober with self-help, or does it take treatment?
That's a really great question, Kimmy. I'm glad you asked that. I think, do I think you can do it 100% by yourself? No. Do I think that you have to go to treatment or you have to go any one particular route? No. The reason I think you can't do it completely by yourself is, and I say this all the time, like, addiction lives in secrecy and darkness, and if it's just you and other people around you don't know, and you don't have systems of accountability, or you don't have any kind of way you're keeping your head on straight, it's just way too hard to slide off the tracks, right? And you need something that's holding steady on the days, those early days when you really don't want to, and you have bad days, which is normal. You need something that's going to hold you on the train tracks. So a lot of people think, I'm just going to do this myself. I'm not even going to tell people, right? And if you're doing it without even telling people or completely by yourself, that's probably not going to work, because there's this element of not being able to trust yourself completely when it comes to addiction in those early stages where you need something to help you get feedback, process something. But it does not have to be treatment, and it does not have to be a 12-step group.
This is Nathan. He's in the UK. He's been struggling pretty good. Does everyone need to hit? I know you made a video on this, and Amber actually has a video actually specifically for this question. But what are your thoughts here?
You know some of my favorite questions, right?
Yes.
Ellenise.
I love your input on them.
You do not need to hit bottom. That's actually where the name of my YouTube channel comes from. It's you hit your bottom when you put your shovel down. And we deal a lot with people in our office called like functioning addicts and alcoholics. And for the most part, it's our goal to help them get out of it before they hit bottom. You don't have to hit bottom, you just have to know if you don't stop.
Nice. Any other questions about
No,
IOPs?
I think we answered most of the IOP questions. Like you don't have to, but it's an option if you need it.
Maybe let me clear up because we're using that term IOP, and some people may be really familiar with that, and some are not.
Yeah.
IOP actually stands for Intensive Outpatient Program.
Mm-hmm.
And so typically an IOP is a program, you don't stay at the facility, you stay at home, or you could be staying in like a sober living at well attended it, but you're living in a facility. And you go usually about 3 times a week, usually for about like 3 hour. So it'd be like a Tuesday and Friday from like 6 to 9 or a Tuesday, Saturday. So that's what IOP means. But I feel like in this context, we're sort of using that term generally almost to mean treatment, like inpatient or treatment in general.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I've been looking to put together like a 30-day little course here at Recovering Addict, just like through Zoom meetings for people that don't have insurance or locally they don't have that option, period.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like it's such a big put, at least maybe just because I'm my inexperience, but it's like soon as somebody's wanting to quit, it's like you need to get into a program, and then it's insurance and money, and then they lose heart and they're just like screw it. And then AA and NA in the world we live in at the moment is just at shambles,
Mm-hmm.
and Zoom is like all there is for everybody right now.
Right.
So I'm trying to give people, I'm trying to change it just a little bit, that stigma that's out there, to where IOPs, without discrediting them, because they definitely have their place, but that there is hope to recover without that.
Without a treatment center.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think honestly, a lot of where that probably comes from is the families, because the families always feel like, no, you need to go away for a long time. Honestly, families always think that, and sometimes that is the case, but it's not always. The thing that you would maybe get from an IOP or something like that you may not get if you're just sort of putting together some kind of program that's not treatment, that's maybe some kind of support and education and stuff like that, and families will ask me this sometimes, why put my loved one in IOP versus just them to SMART recovery meetings or 12-step meetings or whatever. And the thing of it is like, if you're in IOP with me, you're not going to get to hide in the background. If you don't show up, I notice, right? I'm going to call on you. I'm going to drug screen you. We know who you are, who your grandmama is, who your sister is, and your best friend. And if you just say, I'm going to meetings, you can go or not go. You can share or not share. You can sit in the parking lot and drink while everybody else goes to meeting, So I feel like it brings a level of accountability, but also just community, and someone's looking out for you. And when you're not there, not just me, but the whole group, it's like, hey man, where you at? People are just looking out for you, and it's just, you can't easily slide under the radar. So I do think that being an IOP brings you that, which is really important. But I think there are other ways you could get that. There's if you could not get into an IOP, there are some ways you could create that kind of thing for yourself.
And basically that's putting yourself in that position, right? Sticking yourself dead center in a group, whether you're paying for it or not, that are going to care enough to hold you accountable if your absence is not present, right?
That's it. That's right. And they know the questions to ask you, and they know the signs to look for. And that could be because they're, other people who struggle with addiction, and they know it, and they just tell it by looking at you. But it could also just be other people that you look up to. Some of that could be a mentor of yours, and they just know you really well. But but you're going to need some level of that outside of just your own self holding your own self accountable.
At the end of the day, you gotta want it.
Right.
I remember when I was in my IOP, and at 47 days, everybody's heard this before, but I relapsed or I lapsed. I drank 3 shots of whiskey, trying to prove to myself that I didn't have a drinking problem, which proved to myself I had a drinking problem. But it took, I think, like a knucklehead like me, I had to be in a program because it was 3 hours a night, 5 days a week, mandatory meetings on the weekends, drug tests to get through my thick skull.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't go away all at once. Even when you've decided that you want it, even when you've decided that you're going to get sober, addictive thinking and addictive behavior doesn't just magically disappear from that moment forward.
Right.
That'd be cool
And
if it did.
right, you need those things. It doesn't mean you're not trying or you don't mean it. It means if you know yourself well enough to know that you better put it in place.
What's your advice for somebody who is just barely like wants to get clean and sober, but doesn't know where to start? You know what I mean? They're like, now what?
I think I would probably the least scariest place to start would be just to go and talk to a counselor, if you could even do that. If you can't do that, you can usually get a recovery coach, which doesn't even cost anything. Or just if you can't get that, just find somebody that you know that's in recovery and just say, hey, can we have some lunch together or sit down and have coffee? Start having some conversations with people about it, and the more you talk about it, the more clarity you're going to get.
Just start learning the tools and the lingo
Mm-hmm.
and understanding what to do. Yeah, when those things arise.
It's great advice.
What's up, Petey? No worries about being late.
Hey, Petey.
Glad you're here. My 12 steps. So this is Deborah. She's in Scotland.
Wow.
She was wondering why every 12 steps are different. But Deb, if you could, specify more about that question, we could probably answer it. Teeter's got a good way. He says, I even tell my bosses at work I'm a recovering alcoholic and not ashamed. More accountability for me. So what do you say to people who are addicted, but then at their workplace, they don't want people to know?
I think that's a stage that most people go through because you feel like people are going to judge you, or you're worried maybe it could affect you at work. Maybe you could lose your job over it, or they're going to be watching you like a hawk or something. And I could certainly understand that. And I wouldn't even say in every situation you need to tell your workplace, but that would be few and far between, because I think when the people around you, I call it like coming out of the recovery closet, right?
Oh, yeah.
If everyone around you knows you're in recovery, you just save yourself a lot of hassle, right? You save yourself a lot of like, hey man, we're all going out to do this weekend. You want to go? You're going to save yourself a lot of uncomfortable situations. And I think it just holds you accountable. Like if you know everyone knows that you're in recovery, you don't go to the bar and start drinking because someone might walk in that knows you. It just helps you, I guess, make good. So when at all possible, I say come out of the closet.
Let them know. I agree with
More
that.
accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've told everybody, and now we don't get invited to, like, if we get invited to a barbecue, the text is, we won't be drinking.
Right.
Yeah, so please go.
Yeah. And then
Right.
invited to a bar or out for drinks is not something I have been invited to for over 2 years now.
Do you ever feel left out, LT? Do you ever feel like...
I don't. It's weird that I don't, because I loved that stuff. The barbecues I wanted to go to, or the only ones I would, care to go to, were the drinking ones. But now I look at them, I think about the way I felt, because I've gotten into shape now. I've lost 25 pounds, and this is all to play the tape tool, right? When we were just talking about this, was it today? But I would pick up like a box. Maybe it was a 25, 35 pound box, and my muscles would be shaking. And, when I was in active drinking, and now I'm fit. We just went on a hike today. I barely get out of breath. So when I see my friends, like I'm still a part of a group text from my old job, and they're heavy drinkers, tons of whiskey on the weekends. And they're sending videos of each other at the party, all drunk and just acting. And it's just so ugly to me that I have no desire to be anywhere near it,
Right. I think you get to a point where you see that stuff and it's like, man, thank gosh.
Yeah,
It's like, wow, like you feel sorry for them. Good for yourself.
I
It does,
do.
and that's a good place to be. Mhm.
It's funny because it's like it's a growth thing too. Like as far as I don't know humanity in a sense, it's just like you kind of. I'm not trying to say I'm better than them by any means, but it's just like they're stuck down here in this life of like it don't progress any further than that. When there's so much more to life than thinking pounding a fifth of Jameson on the weekend is cool.
Right. You know what's funny is they think that everyone that doesn't drink or use is stuck, right? And they feel they're like, man, that why would you do that? And these people are thinking that's just yeah.
Anthony is starting an IOP tomorrow. That's cool.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
So, what do you any advice for this particular fellow?
Well, I don't know anything about Anthony's situation, and I don't even know if he's been in an IOP before. But if you haven't been in an IOP before, most people are really nervous about the group part of it. Most people just really think, why do I want to talk about my problems in front of people? Why do I want to hear people talk about their stuff? Once you do it though, once I find that people, once they've done some kind of group like that, they love it. Like they that more than the individual. But there is this barrier to it and this fear about it. But the good thing is you don't have to talk for the whole time, and you can sit back and listen, so I guess I would just say don't be scared of the group social aspect of it.
Yeah, I totally relate to what you said. I ended up loving the group. It's like a breath of fresh air. You're at work and you got the cliches, hey, how was your weekend, or just the regular old talk and small talk, and nothing's just all surface level. And then you get there and you're talking about real things. It's a real a breath of fresh air to me.
Yeah, I really like it, LT, because I think once you've gotten into recovery, however you've done it, whether it's IOP or whatever, you learn how to talk in a more genuine, deeper way. And then regular life doesn't, it's just like, it feels boring. It's like these superficial conversations. And when you're in group, even though I've done IOP for years and years and years, I enjoy it. It's like you get connected to these people. You can't wait to hear what happens in the next chapter. You want to find out how their date went, if they told their mama, and you're just like, it's like waiting for the next episode of your show.
So is.
Invested in their life.
Yeah.
Yeah, even like family group therapy, I loved it. I love just to go and listen and hear everybody else's stories and how they related and the advice they give, even if I didn't talk much.
I think also it's like the first element of trust that you get back. You're with a group of people who are opening up about probably their most intimate things, and they're trusting you to keep your mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this first taste of human trust and interaction to where we've already, we tell our family something and they just blow us off like, yeah, I heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Right.
really get heard, and then you really listen. And
Yeah, and it's not only do people hear you, but they understand what you're saying. Like on a deep level, they get it, and that feels really good too.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We got another question that says, how much of a difference is there in drug or alcohol recovery and recovery from, say, gambling, eating, or even video games?
The recovery process itself, there's not that much of a difference. There may be differences in the addiction part as far as like what the symptoms are or what high you get or don't get or whatever like that. But as far as getting better, it's it's pretty much the same route. You could interchange any of those things, I think.
So that's kind of we have a Discord, you know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in there it's growing, and it's not only alcohol or drugs, but we have other people who are overeaters, undereaters, gamblers, sex addicts, video games. And any of that ties into the scientific part, right? You want to talk about
Mm-hmm.
the dopamine levels and then how to overcome that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all pretty much the same, and I think you're just trying to overcome some kind of compulsion that you have, period, across the board. What always makes me, it's always sort of just like blows my mind that when you get into like these different support groups, how they're the ones that really differentiate it. Oh, we don't talk about that over here. Oh, you can't. Oh, that's not what we're about. And you get a whole lot of these like silos going on, which is like ridiculous in my mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's kind of the take we hear. That's why we just call it recovering addict. We don't. An addict is an addict no matter what it is, and I always talk about it being to the healthy side too. People who eat healthy and work out can become addicted unhealthily to that. Anything that can make your life unmanageable and an addictive, it could, if somebody worked out every day, you could make that look like a good thing to people. But really, it could be harming you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Reading.
He says he needs the IOP. I had my points of coping failures my whole life. So something's wrong with my effort mentality. Dad was a war vet or
World War II.
Oh, World War II vet, alcoholic, and I'm in the Army now. Same path, crazy. Yeah, that's kind of brings out a good point, Anthony. And we've read it through some of the books that we've gone through, but your experience, what have you seen as far as, like, obviously the addiction didn't pass from your parents to you, but for me, I was in an addictive family household with my dad, and it got to me, and his dad was an alcoholic as well, and his brothers, and we'll see what happens to my kids. Hopefully not.
As far as like the genetics question, is that kind of what you're asking?
Yeah, either or influence.
Calypto's asking that same question.
Where, this one?
Yeah, are some people more prone because of genetics and brain chemistry?
I think some people are more prone if they're more prone to anxiety, depression, ADHD, if they have attachment issues, if they have trauma. Those things make you more prone. And the family you come from can make you more prone to having those things, if that makes sense. As far as proving that there's a genetic pathway for addiction, there's no like gene that, I mean, they put articles out all the time, but there's no one gene you can point to. Like, you can go get genetic tests for other kinds of cancer and things like that because they know exactly what gene it is, and they can tell you, what's your chance of having it. And even though they used to talk a lot more about this addiction being genetic, it's not quite as black and white as that.
Yeah, from the book, I think it was this book right here, It'll Never Happen to Me. The same thing. It's exactly what you said. I mean, obviously the research is there. There's no gene, but if you have those anxieties or ADHDs or the trauma, and then your parents are addicted, it's more than likely you're going to become that.
Because the coping mechanism they're teaching you is substance abuse.
Yeah.
Right. When the substance starts fixing something for you, you're in dangerous territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something to look out for. If you're reaching out for a substance or anything to fix something for you, there's your danger.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And then there's like people like me and Amber that see it kind of opposite and find different coping mechanisms, I suppose.
Well, I get addicted. Like I always say, I'd be the worst addict ever. Like everything I do is over the top, right?
Yeah.
Everyone that knows me knows if I do something, it's excessive, right?
Yeah, like those
tendencies
there, they just weren't with, like mine was more of food. Like I would cope with my emotions through food and eating, and his was alcohol. And everybody has a coping mechanism. Just which one you're gonna pick?
Exactly, right. And I think most people have struggled with some form of addiction, whether they realize it or not.
And then, like, even I've had to learn like better coping mechanisms, so I don't become 500 pounds later.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. I'm with you.
Do you feel like you reached out for a different type of, even though you didn't go for alcohol or drugs, did you have a different coping mechanism as growing up in that type of a household?
If you think about it from like an old school sort of like psychoeducational thing they used to teach in treatment is like this family roles. I don't know if you guys have ever talked about that on your channel. One of the family roles is the hero child.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And it's the one that is like puts on their blinders and they make all the right decisions and they work hard. And that was me. And so that coping mechanism of I can only rely on myself, I have to take care of myself, I have to be focused. That was sort of how I sort of, I guess, projected that energy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think in the book it called them overachievers or...
I can't remember, but it does talk about them.
Yeah, and it talks about the four, because there's like the one that acts out, right? They're the ones that get the counseling. They're the ones that go to juvie.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you got the other four who look good on the outside, but really they're not on the inside because of the same thing, you know.
Right.
And
It's
then
just,
later that transfers to their relationships as adults.
it sure does. That's exactly right. It's coming out some way, one way or the other. Yeah.
We've had this question before. What do you think on it?
Is there proof today that psychedelics can help with addiction? Um, I am pretty open minded about things, so I never say never. Um, there's that ayahuasca. There's just all this stuff. The ibogaine, that's what I'm thinking of. Ibogaine that people do to try to come off of opiates, particularly in other countries. And I don't know what I think about it. If you look at Bill Wilson's story and how he had his spiritual experience, it was because he was on some psychedelics, because that's what they used to give you to detox you.
Right.
So I'm not sure. A lot of young people ask me, they say, like, psychedelics aren't addictive, and so they'll be like, well, I'm going to quit these drugs, but I'm still going to do these things, which is ridiculous.
I don't think it would cure it for me in an addict experience, because while I was running, this is back in my early 20s, being an addict with meth and partying, psychedelics was just another experience of doing drugs that I craved. You know, it's not, I don't think it would, like, if I took it now to fix me, it would just send me back off party land.
Well, if the person is taking it themselves and coming up with their own plan, I can promise that won't work. you know, I think people are like, there's this, what is it now that people go and they take, why can't I think of the word right now, for depression, and there's some treatment centers, addiction treatment centers, that are giving people low doses of, the word is like missing me right now, but it's a psychedelic drug, but they give it to you in these little tiny micro doses, like doses, and they give it to you in this medical fashion. And so people read articles like that and they're like, oh yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Not the same.
I know somebody that can get acid.
Yeah, right. Guys, I'm gonna fix myself.
Here's a tough question right here from Kathy. Says, my son drinks a fifth of vodka every 2 days, straight gulps from the bottle. Now in the hospital from issues of detox, ran out of money to buy booze. He refuses help, although he knows he needs it. He lost his vision in 2012, lost my youngest son to suicide, alcohol in 2012. What is the best way for me to convince him to get help?
That is a tough one. And we do a lot of talking on our channel, Kathy, about how to motivate someone to get sober. And it's a long, complicated answer. But if I had to drill it down to you, to just a couple of factors, the first thing you got to do is you got to get yourself out of the bad guy role. You can't be the policing one. You can't be the one that's on their case all the time. And as the loved one, once you build some credibility with the person, you restore your relationship with them. That, along with some healthy boundaries, along with some not rescuing them, that's the formula. So that's the very simplified formula for it.
That's a tough one, huh? Because it can be counterproductive. Even though inside you're thinking you're trying everything you can because of love, which it is, I don't doubt, to convince him to stop. But you almost, like what Felice was that. You go ahead and give the example about the enabling.
About the guy in the front yard?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I read this article. It's called 10 Things to Stop Doing to Help an Alcoholic. It's actually a great article. But
I like the title.
And it's a lot of the things that you talk about. So I was like, oh my gosh, go ahead. But one of the examples for enabling is, say your husband comes home drunk and he passes out on the lawn. You take him in the house, you clean him up, you put him in bed. He wakes up and you and the kids are out having pancakes in the kitchen. And he's like, oh, cool, we're having pancakes. And like, he doesn't experience anything. But what you should do, I suppose, is he comes home, he's drunk, he passes out on the lawn, you leave him there, you go in the house. You wake up the next morning, you and the kids are enjoying breakfast, having pancakes, and he has to do the walk of shame, coming through and experience the consequence of what he did, or she, whoever.
That's right. And what's really important about that, let me point this out, is when he comes to the house and does the walk of shame, you make no remark about it, okay? Because when you do, you distract him from the walk of shame and feeling bad about himself into just being mad at you. Mm-hmm. So you just go on down with your pancakes and your breakfast.
And
And if he joins us, be like, hey, here's just pancakes.
Yep.
Let it sit. That shame will do its own work. Don't touch it. It'll handle itself.
Yeah, and it feels so counterintuitive because you want to make sure they felt it, but really, it's not your job to make sure they feel it. They have to feel it themselves.
Yeah, you have to quit pushing on it so directly. I talk about it like coming through the side door, not it. The harder you try to force someone to see it, the longer they won't.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my favorite one. I was like, that opened my eyes to what enabling was because I never really understood it before. I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm doing it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think people think it's just giving people money, right?
Yeah.
Or letting them live in the house. That's sort of their only conceptualization of what that means.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I'm going to drop Amber's channel in the comments right now, you guys. You can check out her channel. She's got all the stuff we're talking about, individual videos, and she has a Facebook as well, and she goes live on there once in a while. And I love it. And I want to address Tyrone real quick. Tyrone, I'm glad to see you back. So he says, I don't know if you guys remember me, but I just want to let you know I got my stuff together and I hope you all are too.
Oh, right on.
Right
Tyrone.
on, brother. I'm glad you're doing good. And we definitely remember you.
Yes, we do.
It's awesome. Yeah, Tyrone, we recover better together. Join the Discord.
Hey, Big Hump.
We've been playing a lot of chess, so like Big Hump, Alicia, because we watched that show,
The Queen's
The
Gambit.
Queen's Gambit.
Oh, I love that one. I did a video on that one. That was really good.
Yeah, we saw it. I did.
Yeah, it was good. I like that one.
Yeah. So we got a mini chess club going on in our community right now.
Well, I always say you beat addiction by being a good chess player. You got to know what's coming next and be ahead of it. That's how you beat it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Tie that in, y'all.
All of you need to download chess.com and join our chess club.
You got to know your opponent. You got to know what they're going to do the next 5 moves and be ahead. That's right.
I heard a cool quote in this book about, what was that book you listened to?
Oh, yeah.
About
Never split the difference.
negotiating.
Yeah,
but he said, do not rise to the occasion. Fall to your highest level of preparation. I was like, man, that's so good. You prepare and you prepare and you prepare. And then when tough times come, you fall to that highest level of preparation. Not just don't ever expect it, and then I'll just rise to the occasion. I was like, man, that was so good.
Sky, that show's good. Start over.
5.
She said,
What, Sky? I think the girl in it's just so interesting looking. Like, I literally just like stare. I'm like, she's like pretty, but in this interesting way. I'm just like mesmerized or something. I don't know.
That's what got us too. We're like, oh my gosh,
she's amazing.
She's interesting. Like, it's just like
not sure what.
And plus, I just love the style of the 50s and all that. I just love all that.
The cinematography, the script, how could they make every chess game amazing? It's like, yeah, I love that show.
And for the lady that asked the question, I think it was Kathy a while ago about, how do I get someone to see it? I really like the Queen's Gambit because in the end, her friends came together, and that's what helped her beat her addiction. And I think that's it. That's the key.
Yeah, there is that community. Because if you guys didn't watch Queen's Gambit, she does battle with addiction. Exactly what you said. And then Kathy says, thank you, Amber. Your videos have helped me these last few months. It's very tough. He suffers from seizures. His blindness makes for a different set of issues. So glad to catch this live. Wow.
And I guess it's, it's really hard. He's so far into it. He's so far into his addiction that he's probably gotten to this point where he's just like accepted it. He's already lost his vision, and he's probably just accepted it as his fate and is almost just sort of letting himself just flow with it, which that's really hard. That's hard to get through to people, for even harder than when people don't think they have a problem.
So true.
Yeah.
Dang, well.
Merc gave up episode 1 10 minutes in. Stop it.
Merc.
Watch it, Hump. Don't listen to these people.
Hump, you'll like it.
You will like it, Hump. You like chess.
Hump, you would love it, brother. I'm telling you.
I stayed up and binged it all in one night. Like, went to work with no sleep.
It took us maybe 2 days.
Yeah.
Y'all are slow.
She did say you do things quite excessively.
I told you. Yeah.
That is awesome. All right, let's see if there's any last minute questions, and then we'll sign off here. Don't take my word on it. Hump might be a great show. So, is there
It's a great show.
any questions anybody wants to ask Amber before we sign off? And we're going to bring Teeter and Asia on. Asia's back from the hospital, and let them talk about some stuff. So we'll wait a couple seconds and let the latency catch up.
So I know you have a boy, right? You have one kid.
I do.
You're married.
I am.
What does your husband do?
My husband does he used to be a X-ray tech and a CAT scan tech. So that's what he's trained to do. But now he does works for the technology part of that. So he manages the computer and when the images don't go through and stuff like that.
That sounds real smart.
It's some kind of techie complicated stuff. I don't really know. He goes to work.
Does techie stuff and comes home.
Something.
That's funny.
Have you heard of
cool.
Castle Craig? I haven't heard of Castle Craig. Is that a chess show?
I hope so. Are you Googling it right? Thanks, Marilyn.
Marilyn, thank you very much for the super sticker. She's one of our top
Wow.
supporters.
I have I just happened to think of this, but I have a guide I wrote a while back about treatment options. Would it help if I put a link in and people can get it? It's just a free download and it tells you all the different kinds of treatment, what they cost, what's involved, the pros and cons.
Yeah,
That'd be very
definitely.
cool.
Okay, let me grab that link for us while we finish up here and I'll put it in for people.
Yeah, drop that link and we'll put it in our Discord as well. Castle Craig. Oh, is that a thing in Scotland?
Ah.
It's a 32-foot high. Oh, it looks like a giant rook.
It's kind of cool.
Thanks, Debs. I've been there. It's a
in
castle in Scotland. 12 steps. Oh, wow.
Like it has 12 steps.
Let's
So
go. We just Googled it right now.
it's like an AA rook.
That's it.
The one question I'm sure you get the most, Amber, since you haven't experienced it, does it limit your understanding?
That is a great question. I'm glad you asked it. I have experienced it from every different direction. I've lived in it my whole life. I've worked in it my whole life. And to be honest, I think it allows me a slightly more objective viewpoint on it. A lot of people talk about that. And early in my career, I used to be kind of insecure about it, I guess. But I've worked and I've trained a lot of addictions, people that were in recovery to be addiction counselors. And one of the things that happens is that they project their experience, and so they can't see any that people have different experiences and that someone else isn't exactly the same and that everyone doesn't need to do things the same way. So I think in a lot of ways it makes me more open-minded and flexible, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're not trapped behind that wall of addiction. You can see through it a little better.
Right, or the wall of how people got better. I've seen people get better every different kind of way, right? I've seen it all different directions.
It just kind of shows if you want to get better, you can.
Right.
There's many options.
Mm-hmm.
Is codependency considered an addiction as well? Is that why similar programs are recommended?
Yeah, I think it is. It's like you have this loved one who, when you have a loved one that's addicted, it's kind of like they're just like the drug. It's like sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad. And that keeps you stuck, right? Sometimes you see their wonderful part and then they're terrible, but you keep thinking if I could just keep them like their wonderful part or if I could get them back like they used to. So you get caught in that addictive cycle. They're chasing the drug and you're chasing them, and around and round everyone goes.
I agree.
Awesome.
All right,
Cool.
I'm finally getting that link.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh, yeah.
For you.
That link, y'all.
There it is. There it is.
I like what Jeanette said. She said, "Oh my God." That's what it says. I always thought it was stupid why people couldn't just stop. Then I became an addict and was like, oh,
I get it.
No, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's what I used to think. I'm like, why don't you just stop? But then, you start learning and educating yourself. You're like, okay, it's not that easy.
Oh, there's okay. You did a private one. Sweet. I'm gonna put.
Oh,
that.
I did a private chat. I messed
That's
that
okay.
up. Do you want me to move?
No, it's in there.
Okay.
I'm gonna look it up too. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Amber. It was awesome seeing you again. Oh yeah. Okay, so I dropped it in there. I went to all the platforms.
All right. Thanks for having me, everybody. I enjoyed it. As always, enjoy talking to Felice. You guys do a great job. You guys have built a great community.
Thank
They're
you.
pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I love when you're here. I'm still gonna tell everybody you're my best
Bye.
friend.
Okay, see you,
That's right.
everybody.
Bye.
See ya.
Awesome. I'm going to screen share this really quick and show you what link she put in so that you guys know it's from her. So, right there, don't waste time and money on all the wrong things. Differentiate the good ones from the bad ones and understand. So, put your name and email in there, download this, and this will help you go through a treatment guide. She's got a store, a library, and a blog. And then make sure you go to her channel as well and check it out. So, cool. All right, y'all. You know what time it is now. The man, the myth, the legend. Michael Teeter.
The Tita time.
How are you two doing? What's going on with you? And give us an update.
The Teeter and Asia show.
It's the Teeter.
Someone has been very anxious and excited to come on here tonight and talk to you guys. So, without further ado, here is a lovely Asia because she has wanted to say a lot of stuff.
I don't know about anxious and excited. Oh, pretend. No, I'm just kidding. I am. I was anxious and excited to come on. Like Michael said, I'm Asia. If you guys haven't known, I am his better half. Yeah, talking about recovery. I just want to say I've been dealing with like a lot of stuff on my own as well. I do suffer with depression and anxiety, and that really impacts me in ways that I never thought that I would be impacted. A few months ago, I fell into a deep depression, and I wasn't being responsible to myself as I should be, and I let things get really bad. I recently was admitted in the hospital on the 18th of November due to an infection that I caught on my leg. So I've been in the hospital since the 18th, and then I got released from there on the 25th and got sent to a rehabilitation center. And I was in there from the 25th through the 10th. And boy, did I learn a lot. I learned so much in there about taking care of myself, being who I am, being just to be you. It doesn't matter if you're struggling or not, just be yourself. But the thing that I learned is to better take care of yourself because you only have your own person. And what are you without your own person? You're nothing, right? So, I mean, I have a lot to live for, and I didn't realize that until I was sitting there. I don't want my husband hurting. I don't want my mom hurting. I don't want my family hurting because they lost me for a stupid reason. And I mean, even though it's not a stupid reason, but it is because I knew how to take care of it, and I knew how to to get me to the point where I wouldn't be like that. But I just let the better half of me get to me, I guess, and it took me on a downward spiral. But I do want to say, I take the time real quick to say thank you to all the recovering addict people. You guys have been amazing. Thank you for helping my husband out. 9 months, 9 months. I never thought he would make it at least one, but nine, that's pretty amazing.
It's all you guys. It's all you guys.
And what worried me the most, and I know he's strong. I know he's has a really strong mind and everything and stuff like that. And I was worried when I was in the hospital because I've never left him alone this long. So I have in the back of my head that I'm wondering, would he pick up a drink? Would he find someone to take him to go get something from the store? And he didn't. And I'm so proud of him that he didn't. And very proud of myself because I actually had a bad day one day when I was in there. And I was thinking about saying, like, who can I find to go to the store for me and find me a couple minis to take? And I was like, no, I can't do that.
While you were in the hospital, you wanted somebody to bring you minis? And you're talking about mini bottles of liquor, right?
Yeah, like a little bottle of the vodka or whatever, just to shoot it real quick and get it done with, But
Actually, last time, the episode in the hospital, I was actually plastered drunk off my ass most of the time that he was in the hospital.
We couldn't hear you, brother. Say that again.
He said the last time that I went to the hospital was at the beginning of the year last year. He was plastered the whole time that I was there.
Oh,
So,
wow.
So that's why when I went this time, I had it in the back of my head. I was like, okay, well, is he going to drink? Is he going to pick up? Is he going to find someone to take him, But he didn't. And that's the thing that I'm very proud of him for, that his willpower has gotten strong and that he doesn't need it,
That's awesome because you were kind of the one taking care of him, supporting him through his coming out of alcoholism.
Yes.
And through his recovery, then you had to lean on him. And the cool thing is he was strong enough to lean on this time, right?
Yes.
Good job.
I mean, no loyalty. Believe me, there was times that I wanted to strangle him.
No, not Tina.
I would have ended his life.
Well, with that
no, I love him. He's my rock. He's my support, and I don't think I would have made it that far without him. But instead of having one quote of the day read by Michael, we have two quotes, one for him and one for me. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's hear it. Covering for Cassie.
So, you can hear me now, right?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like the microphone goes to him for a minute and then goes to you. It's like it knows how far away you are from it. It's weird.
Oh yeah, Merc.
Hold on.
Trying to reach you on your car, on your extended car warranty there. Anyway, so this one comes from the one and only queen of talk, Miss Oprah Winfrey herself. And what she says is, be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you'll never, ever have enough.
Yeah.
Thank you, all powerful Oprah.
Oh, before you read that, Asia, oops. How good does it feel to trust again?
It feels pretty good. I mean, I don't think I lost trust in him. I think I just lost faith. I didn't think that it was possible for him to be able to follow a plan to help him get better. I mean, like I said, we had good days going there. We had bad days going there. We had days I wanted to kill him, days I wanted to just bury him, and it was like, no, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt. But he proved me wrong, and that's what I'm thankful for.
Did you ever
get trying to reach him about his extended warranty? Oh, thanks, Mark. Thanks.
Covering for Cassie time.
Facial recognition over here. Hold on.
Facial recognition.
Alrighty. So my quote is: "Be strong-minded, and always think that the impossible is possible." Quoted by Selena Quintanilla.
Selena!
Bitty bitty bum bum.
The best singer on the block.
That's an raw. I love Selena. I got the bumper of Selena's.
Right? I love that part of the movie. That's amazing.
Get me going. What do you think about the Selena on Netflix? Real quick.
I loved it.
Did you like it?
Yes, I enjoyed it. I thought the reason why I liked it so much was because it went further, deeper into her life and the family's life that they didn't show in the movie. Like I never knew
Yeah,
that.
bring it together and spread that love.
Asia was talking.
I forgot.
Talking about Selena. Hold on.
Like I never knew the brother had kids. I didn't know the brother had a wife.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
All right, I'm gonna have to watch it. I was like, it's not J Lo.
Yeah, but now we have to wait a while for the second part of the series, though.
Don't be spoiler alerts. No spoiler alert. Well,
Did she die?
I'll leave it at that. If you haven't seen it, I'll leave it at that.
I bet that chick kills her.
Right. Alrighty, guys. Well, like Cassie always says too, don't forget to spread that love.
Spread that love. Right on. You guys want to close us out with the Serenity Prayer? I'm going to mute us so we don't garble.
Oh God, I don't even know the Serenity Prayer by heart, but I'll try.
What?
back of my coin.
I'll just copy him, okay? All right, here we go. God,
grant me the
serenity
to accept the things I cannot change.
to accept the things I cannot change.
To change the things I can.
To change the things I can.
And the wisdom to know the difference.
And the wisdom to know the difference.
Amen.
Amen.
Ooh, ooh.
All right, that's your homework, Asia. Next time we see you, you better have that memorized.
All right.
Like tomorrow.
Like tomorrow? All right.
Cool. All right, well, y'all, it is 9 o'clock. Way to get Pete Fleece in bed. She has to get up at 4:30. 4:40.
Yeah.
Done.
So until next time, y'all, do not put yourself in a high-risk situation. Stay strong, work your program, and remember, we recover better together.
Together.